Hello and welcome to Film Companion South. In this episode, we're going to be talking about Dikkiloona, the movie starring Santhanam and directed by Karthik Yogi. Now, I'm going to first talk about a time machine, right? Because that's the centerpiece of this film. All of us, I think, at some point have wished that maybe we could have a time machine. We could go back in time and fix the things that we wish we hadn't done, whether it's with family or with friendships or relationships or whatever, like a work, professional stuff, some things that we done differently. So this is a great concept and several great films have been made out of this, especially in Hollywood. But it seems so wrong for a Santhanam movie because of what Santhanam is right now. See, at one point he was a flourishing comedian, and then you know what happens to comedians. They all have a phase in which they're very popular, and then we move on to the next comedian. It's almost like the heroines where the heroines have a phase where they're in every movie, and then they kind of the industry moves on to the next new thing, the next big thing. It's like that for comedians as well. So Santhanam decided that I can't be a comedian anymore. I don't want to be a sidekick anymore. So let me see if I can become a leading man, but without losing that comedian persona. Now this is a very tricky thing because when a leading man happens and you want to make solo like roles with just you as the centerpiece, but you also don't want to lose that the old kind of humor that you used to do, which is like rhyming foreign with urine and all those kinds of things. It makes for a very weird combination because the movie that deserves a certain kind of treatment becomes a Santana movie, which is like neither here nor there. So you're left with something that doesn't use the time machine concept well, and it doesn't look like a great vehicle for a leading man as well. Now, the story is about Santanam who has to choose between two women and he has to go back and forth in time through a time machine to kind of decide which one is right for him. The problem with the writing is that the story is almost entirely about the man and very little about the two women. So, we don't get an idea of why these two women are kind of important in their own ways. They are painted with such broad strokes and they're painted so ridiculously sometimes that you really wonder if they're just your usual luciponus or they're really worth pursuing. Like, take this example, right? They want to show this one woman as this very modern, free thinking woman. So what is the example? Santanam says, let's go to the temple, and she comes dressed in these 6-inch heels and some kind of strapless I think a strapped dress in the back, and basically she looks like she's going out to a disco. And when Santanam asks her, what are you doing, she says, my freedom is very important to me, no one can control me and all that. It's so hard to take these women seriously. Now you're going to say, why take this movie seriously at all? But then it should at least deliver on the comedy front, or at least deliver at a fast-paced story front. Like one classic example being Back to the Future, which is one of the great time machine movies, right? But here the story, this really overlong story, is filled with all kinds of things. There's a prison break, there's a mental asylum and its inmates, there's the Harbhajan Singh who makes a cameo, and with all these things, you actually don't care who Santanam ends up with because there is no emotional connection to anything at all. At the end, I wish that this love story had been made by a serious director and with a serious actor, because a romantic kind of a love triangle kind of thing, so to speak, with a time machine concept. I mean, I would have really liked to see that being done in a serious way, but that doesn't happen. And I now ended up wishing that they had really had a time machine so that somebody could go back and fix this god awful script so that at least there would have been a halfway decent movie. That's the end of this review. If you like this review, do subscribe to Film Companion South and see you soon at the movies.